This is Pete with ZenGig, and today I'm speaking with Rebecca Gill, who's been an SEO consultant for more than 15 years, previously owned her own agency. Rebecca, how are you today?
I am good. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you for taking the time to share some thoughts on SEO and how to succeed and get started in the profession. Let's just begin with what you're doing today, or what is an SEO consultant?
So, primarily, I have a certain set of clients that I work with, and collectively, we collaborate to improve their position in search, being, primarily Google, but also like Bing and that type of thing. And really, it's creating a strategy for them based on the current state that they're in and creating a roadmap for them and helping them execute that, whether it be optimization of existing content, creating new content, technical audits, schema development, all those kind of things. But that's kind of a good overview.
So, in the marketing world, right, you have to start somewhere. And you don't just jump right into SEO. So let's go backwards a little bit.
Okay.
How did you get started in marketing?
So I was working for a software company and doing part of their sales with demonstrations and things like that. And if we got into a prospect's bid process, right? We usually close the business like 80-90% of the time. The issue was we had no leads coming in. But the internet was kind of new back then. And so, trying to help fill that funnel, I started to teach myself digital marketing. And then, once I was in digital marketing, I really fell in love with SEO, particularly because it was a puzzle that I wanted to solve. And it was really rogue back then, because that was 20 years ago, actually, when I started with SEO, not as transparent as it was today. So it was a puzzle. Like, you had to really try to figure out what Google wanted and what Google was rewarding in search. And that was fun to me. So
And it,
I just dove in after that.
and it's still a puzzle today, is it not?
Oh my gosh, still a puzzle, and different puzzles, whether it's a service company or a product company or something that's just, information and content website, whether you're a lawyer versus, a recruiter, like the different industries, there's all these different components and nuances. And while some things overlap, some things are very different. And it's still the puzzle.
So you've had success over a long period of time, which is impressive. What skills and traits do you think have allowed you to do that?
I would tell you organization, a love for detail. You really have to be detail focused and pay attention to all the little dinky things that are nitpicky, but they really do make a difference. Individually, you would look at them and go, big deal. But collectively, they really help improve the health of the website and the user experience, which is, how you get rewarded with Google. I would tell you, that having that love for puzzles and being able to dig in and investigate and taking data and analyzing that data and making conclusions about it are all really, really important. And the other thing I would say is, being able to set aside dedicated time. If you're working with clients, you have to be able to block time, efficiently record your time. So you're really giving your clients your best and making sure that you're not billing for time and losing along the way. And that might seem silly, but when you're in this type of industry and you're working with clients and you're service based and you're on retainers, that's really important to both get them success as well as, maintain that ethical relationship and keep that going for the long term.
So you mentioned relationships, a key component of success.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the pitfalls that could get in the way of someone maintaining a good reputation in the industry?
So I think that there's two different sides of that, right? You have the relationship you have with the clients, and then you've got your reputation within the industry. The relationship with the clients, it's never over promising, always making sure that you're delivering what you're saying you're going to deliver, and that goes back to, I can't promise you're going to get on page one of Google, but I can tell you the steps in the process that I know work to help us get there, right? And maintaining that and being ethical. On the industry side, it's staying out of the drama. There's a lot of SEO drama on Twitter, and you'll see I'm never in it. I just stay way away from it. So, I follow Twitter and those types of things, LinkedIn, so I can know what's happening in the industry, but I don't jump into all of that drama. And I think those two kind of foundational elements have kept me sane and kept me successful.
Sure. Well, I think that's universally applicable. Really good advice
Yeah.
for any industry. Don't get into the drama if you can avoid it.
Oh, yeah, and it's I mean, and if you start to even dip your toe in it, it seems like you get sucked in, so just don't even dip your toe in it.
That's right. Observe, but don't
Mhm.
don't comment when it comes to social media, perhaps. So going backwards for someone who's interested in the profession, how you kind of fell into it, discovered it as you went along. But if someone is wants to pursue a profession, professional career in SEO, what advice would you have as far as getting started?
So I would first advice I would tell you, or the first thing I would tell you is your current degree or your current situation does not matter. I have a degree in accounting, right? That like the only thing that helped me is just the attention to detail. I think it's more important that you have the qualifications, meaning the personal characteristics of that attention to detail, the love for data and puzzles, and then you start to teach yourself SEO because university is great, but by the time the coursework gets through the university, it's already outdated since it has to go through all the approval processes. It's really important for you to stay up to date with what's happening in line. And really, like if you're targeting Google, it's Google's quality rating guidelines, it's the developer docs that they have, it's the press releases and the announcements that they put out. It's that type of thing where you can learn what they expect. But then, just as important, you need to be able to test out your theories and what you believe to be best practices. You can't do that on client sites. You need to do that on a side site that repercussions, should something go wrong, isn't going to impact your clients. And I think that that's one way that a lot of new SEO consultants get themselves in trouble, freelancers and things like that, is because they try to test out those theories, but they're doing it on client websites and it's not always going to work. And then you've taken somebody's livelihood, right? Their revenue from the internet, and you've taken it away. Well, what do you do with that? So, those are the things that you really need to pay attention to and make sure that, again, you're being ethical and you're really you're staying focused on those relationships with your clients while developing yourself as an expert.
So, not really a skill that can be learned in school. Is that fair?
I think that you can get fundamentals of it, but I think that you're not going to be a true expert or, a true value until you can get in and start to actually apply it and test and see results and really start to see what happens with the things that you're trying to implement and the outcomes that come back to you.
Are there tools or resources, opportunities for learning that you would recommend to an aspiring SEO professional?
Yeah, I mean, like the Google documents that I referenced earlier. There's websites like Ahrefs and Semrush, which have great data tools and tracking tools and investigative tools, but they also have great content. Those are safe places where you can learn. The downside of SEO and learning it is there's a lot of dated or just incorrect information online, and that can get you in trouble really, really quick. So you have to pick and choose who you are going to pay attention to and who you're going to listen to. And like, don't go to Reddit, please, for the love of God. Don't go to Reddit and start listening to things everybody says, because I sit there and read it as I'm watching TV, and I tell you 50% of it, if not more, is wrong. That's going to get you in trouble. So really find safe places and stick with that.
Great answer. Thank you for that. And then the last question is, what are the hurdles? Actually, two more questions. But are there any hurdles you see that prevent a young person from getting started, or something that they need to be aware of going in to the profession?
I think the biggest hurdle is time, right? Because SEO is incremental. You make a bunch of incremental changes or creating things, in an incremental way. And it could take 3 months, 6 months, 12 months for you to see feedback or success. You have to give yourself that time, both for yourself so you can learn and know what you're doing is right, but also for that of your client. That's the biggest hurdle. You're going to have prospects that come to you that want guarantees, page one ranking, and number one ranking and things like that. You can't guarantee any of that. There's so much outside of your control, including what your client's going to actually do that you're not seeing. So that's a major hurdle. And just really, I love the phrase, the giving the grace of time, right? And you have to give that to yourself as you're learning, and then you also have to make sure that the expectations with your client are there so that you're in sync as you work on your strategy and your execution.
Perfect. Patience, setting realistic expectations, very important in this profession.
Yes. Yes, and that's where newbies will get themselves in trouble, right? They're so eager to get that prospect into a client. They start to promise the world and they can't deliver it. Like I said, there's so much outside of your control and it is incremental and it does take time to build that momentum and you will get yourself in trouble should you start setting those relationships up based on time constraints. It's not fair to you and it's not fair to your client.
So you've delivered a very consistent theme of relationships, reputation. You have to protect that, and you do that by being honest, consistent, right? Straightforward. What about surprises? Is there, if someone from the outside looking into the profession, is there anything that would surprise someone about being an SEO consultant and what the job really consists of?
So I would take what my husband says because he's been around with me for the last 20 years since I've been started with this. He's always surprised at the length of time things take, the fact that clients will put up with it. Now, understanding that this is the industry, this is just the way that things work. He's surprised at the rate of which an SEO consultant can charge because to him, he doesn't own a small, he's never owned a small business. Like he doesn't understand that this is a specialty and not everybody can do it well, right? It does take time to learn. So he's always surprised by that. And then he's always surprised by all of the nuances and the details and things. He's a big level guy, right? He used to be upper management and automotive. So he's like, no, give me like the C-suite executive pitch. I'm like, no, 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 that's not how SEO works. You have to get down into the details. And so that's always something that he just kind of looks at our industry like, that's just crazy. And those are like the big threes. And I would tell you, I would not hearing from him, I wouldn't know what those are, but like he always has feedback for me based on our conversations. And that's, outside world feedback, someone who's not an SEO consultant. It really does kind of show how this industry and this expertise is a lot different than other things.
Not what you'd necessarily expect if you were uninformed about it. That makes complete
Correct.
sense. Anything else you'd want to share before we close with someone who's really wants to be in the industry? Any final advice or tip?
So I would tell you the same thing I've told my children, right? When they're looking at professions they want to go into. And, it's things that I really love about being an SEO consultant. One of them is I get to structure my day. My day can vary based on the client that I'm working with. I can work from anywhere. I can work in my pajamas if I want, right? Because I'm working from my home primarily and I'm working autonomously, it doesn't really matter if I'm going into an office, or things like that, or if I live in this state or that state. My clients have been all over the world. Those are so many of the goodness, that's part of being an SEO consultant. The income's really good once you cultivate skills and you can cultivate a reputation. And it just allows you to learn about different industries and different things that you would never. I have a bunch of random information in my head from having various clients over the last 15 years, which I actually enjoy. I enjoy having those random tidbits because I've had to do research for every single client I've been with. And those are a lot of good things that come out that you probably don't necessarily think about when you're considering this. And if I were to look back, right, to 20 years ago of starting an SEO or even 15 years ago and starting the agency and knowing what I know now, would I do it all again? I would absolutely do it all again because I do feel like this is a great work life for me and it helps me create a lot of good work life balance overall in my life.
Can't ask for anything better than that, to be
Nope.
able to look back and say you made the right choices. Took a
Yep.
lot of work, it took a lot of effort, but you ended up where you want to. So that's a wonderful way to close. So Rebecca Gill, SEO ninja, SEO consultant. Thanks so much for your time today.
You're welcome.